Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. It is December the 18th at around 4:47 Central Time as I record this show. Doing another of my Sunday shows, and what I've got for you today is I'm doing a stock charts for mining stocks and catalysts. So I'm going to talk about some nice setups on stock charts and some catalysts that I think will drive those stock charts higher. So I'm going to get right to it and start with the price of gold. So what we have here is the iShares Gold Trust, and this ETF, it follows the price of gold step by step, day by day, hour by hour sort of thing. And some things I want to point out to here is back in September, October, and early November, it made a triple bottom. Then in early November, it had a significant breakout where it traded well above its 50-day moving average. The red line is the 50-day, the blue line is the 200-day. And it traded well above that 50-day moving average. And right now it's trading on the 200-day. So this is kind of the opposite of what's been happening with the US dollar. And really it comes down to, for the price of gold, that it's a battle between the US dollar and gold. And why I follow gold so closely is it's a sentiment indicator for the entire metals space. Where gold goes, often so goes the price of various different metals. And in this case, what's been driving them, putting them under pressure, has been the bull market in gold, or in the US dollar, that was running right till about September. That's when the traders in the US dollar started to get the feeling that the Federal Reserve might be ending its campaign to fight inflation, which they haven't done a very good job of. Because they created it with zero interest rates for like 14 years. But I think what we're seeing now is that the Federal Reserve is about at the end of its rope as far as raising interest rates. In the last Fed meeting a few days ago, they talked about their estimate for the peak of interest rates would be about 5%. They're only about 0.5% from that now. So it sounds like 2, maybe 3 quarter point moves over the next few meetings. But then I think that soon after that, they're going to be talking about their next rounds of stimulus. We're seeing a dramatic drop in the real estate market. In sales, it's just fallen through the floor quite dramatically. In fact, since they've been keeping track of this data, it's the most severe correction in the housing sales. So there's your evidence that that they need to slow down on the interest rates. And about 2 weeks ago, the Chairman Powell had a meeting, a presentation, and he talked about his concerns that they could over tighten. What's happening in the real estate market is a sign that they have overdone it. And I think that that's another reason why the US dollar has been under pressure for the last few months. And note that gold has been bottoming and then moving up quite nicely. And I think that those two trends are going to continue. I think you're going to continue to see the US dollar under pressure and the price of gold going up. Another thing I would point out about this chart is that the 50-day moving average is in a bullish trend, and it looks like we're probably 2 or 3 weeks away from a golden cross. And when golden crosses happen, the 50-day tends to stay above the 200-day for an extended period of time. So I really think that we're headed into a good market for the price of gold. But I think the best way to play that is in the gold and metal stocks. They are at record lows. Whether you're looking at the big caps, the developers, the explorers, they're all trading at historic lows. And it harkens back to the year 2000 when we saw a similar thing. The US dollar was very powerful, gold was weak, and the gold stocks were beaten down. And then in 2001, we started the greatest bull market in my lifetime, and it went up for about 10 years, 10 or 11 years. So I think we're coming into a very bullish market for the price of gold that is reminiscent of the year 2001. And because we're starting out from such a low base, these stocks are really beaten down. And I think that puts us in a good position to see some dramatically good performance. Okay, so this time of the year is a trend that happens every year, which is the tax loss selling season. And I'm going to bring you two companies that I think are well positioned to take advantage of that tax loss selling. So in the case of Blackrock Silver, they recently became a sponsor of my website after I interviewed Andrew Pollard in the last 10 days or so ago. And what I interviewed him about then was they had just announced a 1.5 meter intersection of 52 grams of gold and 606 grams of silver from their project in Nevada called Silver Cloud. That hole was quite a step out from any other historical holes. It's also in close proximity to what they call their Northwest Canyon target, because it's really close to a big structure. And I think that that's probably what's responsible for that high-grade gold and silver. And but that's not the underlying reason that I think that this company is oversold. They have a resource with over a 400 grams per ton silver resource in Nevada near the town of Tonopah. And I think just on that alone that they're currently undervalued. These are the kind of projects that get bought out for a premium because they're so high grade and high margin operations. And in addition to a 42 million ounce resource of high grade silver, they've been doing big step outs, and they have the ability to grow that resource quite dramatically. And it's wide open. They also have the ability to, now that they understand the mineralization in the resource, they can target the high-grade portions of the veins that they're exploring, and that will help them increase the grade, which already starts out at a pretty substantial grade of over 400 grams per ton of silver. There's not many. Well, that's the highest grade undeveloped silver resource in the business. So I think they've got a gem of an asset in Tonopah that will grow quite significantly. But as you can see, they're only trading about 10 or 15% above their 52-week low. And I think that that's dramatically oversold, and they're probably suffering from tax loss selling season. But again, it's important to look at the catalysts. The catalyst that they have is they've never stopped drilling at their Tonopah resource project. They have a bunch of holes pending on that. They could put news out on that at any time. Another one that they could put out news at any time is they've also found a lithium project that looks quite excellent as well. And they have talked recently. In fact, when I interviewed Andrew Pollard recently, he talked about the efforts to monetize that project. So that is potentially pending as well. And then I think that they'll be eager to get back into their Silver Cloud project and start drilling around that big hit that they had recently. So as you can see, the stock is, as I said, just trading a little bit above its 52-week low. The 50-day moving average has been going sideways for a few months now. That's created quite a significant base. And with all the catalysts that they have, I think they're probably only 3 to 4 weeks away from going through a golden cross. And I love to look for those golden crosses, because what happens is when they go through a golden cross, they tend to trade aggressively above the 200-day moving average for an extended period of time. And I think they've got all the catalysts that they need in order to do that. So BRC, Blackrock Silver, trades on the venture exchange. That's one for you to look at for what I consider an excellent tax loss selling stock. Another one that I'm going to talk about next is High Gold Mining. High Gold is, again, one that's trading just slightly above its 52-week low. And I really think that this one is probably also suffering from tax loss selling season. In fact, I think that they're dramatically undervalued just on the resource alone that they have at the JT deposit. It's over 1 million ounces, and it has a grade of just about 10 grams per ton of gold. Those kind of high-grade deposits are not easy to find. They have excellent metallurgy and thick intersections of mineable material. Those are the kind of things that get bought out at a premium. And right now it's trading at a significant discount to that asset alone. But they've also got other projects in close proximity to the JT deposit. About 4,000 meters away from their JT is their Ellis zone. And they have already shown from, let's say, about a dozen holes, or not a lot of holes, that they have excellent continuity so far of high grade. Last year, they hit a massive hole. It was 6 grams of over 500 grams of silver, or 6 meters of over 500 grams of silver. And it also included extremely high grade, got my metals mixed up there. It was over 500 grams of gold and and very high grade silver as well. And now they've gone back in there this year, and they've extended that and shown that Ellis zone has excellent continuity. It looks like it could be another resource. And what makes this very exciting is it could be an open pit resource of very high grade. So I think they've got 2 wonderful assets in the company. And at their current valuation of only $47 million, I think that they're very oversold and suffering from tax loss selling. As you can see, that their 50-day and their 200-day have been moving downwards. I think that very soon they should start to see a bottom as tax loss selling is over. They also have some more holes pending. They also have an excellent project in Ontario that I hope that they drill in the next few months. So I think that this one's a very undervalued play on a high-grade resource of gold that looks like it will be a future mine. Probably not mined by High Gold. It will probably be mined by a much bigger company that buys them out. And those are my 2 top picks for tax loss selling victims that I think will move towards a stronger 50-day moving average that goes for a golden cross in the next few weeks. So those next, I'm going to move into some of my power charts. These guys, i-80 Gold, for example, has been just doing extremely well. They bottomed when over the last 4 or 5 months, and then they had a big breakout. And the reason for that big breakout was that they hit a thick intersection of high-grade gold in a CRD that, most of the time those CRDs don't have high-grade gold, but they hit some high-grade gold over 10 meters, and it also had high-grade silver, zinc and lead in it as well. And the stock just came roaring in early November. Back then, it was trading at about $2.25. Now it's trading at $3.76. It's trading well above its 50-day and 200-day moving average. It recently went through a golden cross with the 50-day moving above the 200-day, as you can see right where my cursor is. And so then I look at the catalysts for the company. They're drilling as we speak at that CRD a target where they hit the high-grade zinc, lead, silver, and it also had a high-grade gold overprint. That's not supposed to happen in CRDs. They tend to be low-grade gold. In this case, what I think is happening is the same structures that were these deep cracks in the earth that were the conduit that brought the CRD to surface, is also the conduit for the high-grade gold. So you have just a spectacular in situ value of rock in this project that makes it one of the highest grade in situ values of rock anywhere in the exploration scene in mining anywhere in the world for any metal. That's a pretty big statement, and it's absolutely true, and it's a phenomenal project. They have a bunch of news pending from that. They've also got more news pending from their Granite Creek. Granite Creek is also a phenomenal project, high grade, underground target, excellent continuity, big strike length, open along strike, open at depth, in the same kind of rocks and the same structure that right next door to them, as they move towards the north, you run into a 25 million ounce gold deposit. So that's got a big number on it as far as their updated resource. They're starting to do some more mining on that. And then they've also got their McCoy Cove project. Lots of catalysts for this company. So I think what you're going to see is that after this golden cross, that 50-day moving average will stay aggressively above the 200-day moving average for an extended period of time. So I think that the I-80 gold, IAU on Toronto, IAUX on the New York Stock Exchange is a power chart with plenty of catalysts to drive it much higher. Okay, now I'm going to go to the next company, which is 9 Mile Metals. 9 Mile Metals is, they went through a golden cross earlier this year. And the reason, and as you can see, look at how the 50-day moving average stays significantly above the 200-day after a golden cross. What caused that golden cross is they hit a thick intersection of massive sulfides, around 10 meters thick, with high grades of gold or copper and zinc. And what makes this tremendously exciting is it's in the Bathurst mining camp, which is one of the top 3 VMS mining camps in the world. That lens is only about 10 kilometers from the Brunswick number 12 mine, which was just a monster of a mine. And it looks like they've got their hands on something exciting there. They're drilling there right now as we speak. What they're drilling for is the source of that lens. I'm very optimistic about the chance to hit the source because there's a structure and rock package that goes north to south, and then in close proximity to where that lens is, about 350 to 400 meters is a hinge in that rock, and you can see it on the geophysics as well. That's a perfect place to look for the source of the lens. I think when they do find the source of that lens, it will give this company a much higher valuation than its current $18 million valuation. And they've got the catalysts. Not only do they have the catalysts, potential catalysts at their 9 Mile Brook lens area, they've also drilled 20 kilometers away and hit massive sulfides 20 kilometers away using purely geophysics. This is they're using a very good geophysical firm that uses algorithms to crunch big data, and it helps them to filter out the geophysical noise and vector into where they should hit massive sulfides. So they're doing very good with that method. They're drilling on a geophysical anomaly right now that's in close proximity to that lens. They'll have more drilling at their California Lake project. They got plenty of other targets. I think what you're going to see is, as you can see, the 200-day moving average is in a bull trend. The 50-day moving average is in a bull trend after it went through that golden cross earlier this year. And with all the catalysts they have, I think that this one can go a heck of a lot higher, because at an $18 million valuation, this one is tremendously cheap. When you're looking in elephant country and finding new VMS deposits in a camp that's so important for VMS mines, that's a hell of a situation that should garner much more than an $18 million valuation. I would suggest that even $100 million valuation is cheap, considering that they found these two VMS occurrences. They have both California Lake and the lens are high grade, and they've got plenty of other targets that look like they could make additional VMS discoveries. So this one I think is very cheap. It's a power chart. Lots of catalysts, and that I think will take it much higher. Okay, so next up is another power chart. Not too long ago, I interviewed Fireweed Metals. The reason that I did is they hit their best hole ever on their project up in the Yukon, very thick and high grade. And they already have a couple of large deposits with widespread high-grade zinc, lead, and silver, but now they're finding even higher grades as they move closer to a structure that is potentially the big crack in the earth that allows a massive sulfide deposit to make its way to surface. It bottomed out over the last, during the summertime. Then it had a massive breakout in November. This was on the optimism towards what they had indicated in their news release about this hole that they had drilled closer to the the potential structural feeder zone. And it blasted off. Then they announced the results. They were great. Then they announced that the Lundin family put a bunch of money into the company. As you can see, they went through a golden cross. And just look at the explosive moves that you see when these things go through a golden cross. This is why they're so important from a technical perspective to watch. And as you can see, it's trading aggressively above its 50-day moving average, aggressively above the 200-day moving average. It's already gone through the golden cross, and both the 50-day and the 200-day are in a very bullish trend. They have plenty of catalysts ahead of them. They have only announced maybe 10% of all the drilling that they did this summer and fall. And I think they've got plenty of catalysts ahead of them. Ultimately, I think they've got a mine, a very big mine. The Lundin family is mining royalty. And the fact that they put a lot of money in is an indication, this family knows what mines look like, and they know how to build them. And I think that the reason that they put money in is because they think that Fireweed Metals has a mine. I think they do as well. And I think that they've got a heck of a lot of catalysts ahead of them. So I think that you're going to see that 200-day moving average continue to trend higher, and that 50-day moving average to trade aggressively, stay trading aggressively above that 200-day moving average. So that's a power chart that's really been bucking the trend with a lot of juniors. A lot of juniors are suffering this in 2022, but these guys are ending the year off in a dramatically good situation. And I think that that's going to set them up for a phenomenal 2023. So there you go. We've got through IAU, 9 Mile, Fireweed, Zinc. The next company up is a company called Golden Lake Exploration. This is a company where I'm an advisor to the company. And this one is also moving quite nicely in lockstep with IAU, I-80 Gold. And the reason that they are is they're in close proximity to I-80 Gold. And I-80 Gold has, as I showed you earlier, a very powerful chart because of what they've been finding on the project that's in close proximity to Golden Lake. But Golden Lake back in 2020 also drilled into a CRD with high-grade zinc, lead, silver, and it also had an overprint of high-grade gold in it. So they're finding something that's very similar to what I-80 Gold has found, but yet they only have a $6.5 million valuation. And I started following the company in my reports back when they were about a nickel. They closed on Friday at 10 cents. Their 50-day moving average is moving upwards in a bullish pattern. Their 200-day moving average is bottoming. It looks like they're only a few weeks away from a golden cross. Catalysts for them will be continued good news from I-80 Gold's CRD discovery, as well as the next company I'm going to talk about, which is Paycore. They've also hit a CRD, and it's sort of right in the middle of I-80 Gold and Golden Lake. They've also hit a CRD with high-grade zinc, lead, silver, and an overprint of high-grade gold. So all three of these companies are finding a similar story. And this makes the rock value, the in-situ rock value of these three companies is quite exceptional. And I think that the next the catalyst that will help them move forward is more good news from I-80 Gold, more good news from Paycore, and then announcing that they're going to start drilling near their Eureka tunnel, where they hit a high-grade CRD, again with high-grade zinc, lead, and silver, and an overprint of high-grade gold. Again, this company only has a $6.5 million valuation. And another catalyst for all of these gold-related companies, or even any metals, is what I talked about earlier when I talked about the price of gold. I think that that's another catalyst that can move these stocks forward. And as you see there, 50-day moving average in a bullish trend, 200-day moving average looking like it's bottoming. The move that they've had since their bottom in early November is following this similar pattern to I-80 Gold and Paycore. And I think you're going to see that continue and see this one much higher in the near term. I think it can go through a golden cross within about 4 weeks. All righty, so let's go now to Paycore. So as I said, Paycore is right in the middle of I-80 Gold and Golden Lake. And here you can see a similar pattern in the trading as you saw in I-80 Gold and Paycore and Golden Lake. Bottomed in early November, They came out with excellent results. The stock moved up dramatically. It's trading significantly above its 50-day moving average. What they found is high-grade CRD with high grades of zinc, lead, silver, and also high-grade gold overprint. With these three companies in such close proximity and finding the same thing, it really shows the potential that we could be looking at a very big, powerful mineralizing system that not only is bringing in your CRD, but it's also bringing in that you've got the cracks in the rock that are the conduit to bring that CRD and the high-grade gold to surface. It's a very exciting area near Eureka, Nevada. I think that it's going to become the most important exploration region in Nevada, led by I-80 Gold. Close on their heels will be Paycore and Golden Lake. And look at how nicely above the 50-day moving average Paycore is trading. And the 50-day moving average is on a bullish move now. And I think you're going to see that continue. This company has been trading for less than a year, so the 200-day moving average doesn't show up. But I think that this one has a hell of a chance to trade well, significantly higher. And the catalysts are the additional drilling on their own on their property where they found that high-grade CRD with the gold overprint, high-grade gold overprint. Plus, they will have move in sympathy with I-80 Gold because they're so close. I mean, they're two CRDs with the high-grade gold overprint are only about 1,700, 1,800 meters from each other, a couple of kilometers, so 2,000 meters from each other. So that's why their trends are both going up in a similar pattern. And then also the price of gold. I think gold's going to get a lot stronger, and that's another key catalyst for Paycore. So there you go. That's the story on Paycore. While I'm talking about this area around Eureka, Nevada, I'm going to talk about Timberline Resources. Timberline is also in Eureka. It goes I-80 Gold, right beside them is Paycore, right beside them is Golden Lake, and right beside them is Timberline. And Timberline has the largest land package in that region. They've been not really looking for CRDs. What they've been focused on is they already have a resource on their one of their targets, and they've been expanding on that target. In fact, they've got a lot of drilling pending. I think you'll see that come out over the next few weeks. What's nice about that is as they move to the east, they're getting higher grades and wider distribution of the high grades. And then you go right beside that and you got this massive geophysical anomaly that looks like it could be the source of what caused that resource mineralization. And then you go slightly to the north of the resource, and they recently announced some sniffs of a CRD. I think that they are probably very close to hitting an important CRD because the reason I say that is they're not very far from a key structures that are likely the plumbing system or the vent or the crack in the earth that allows those fluids bearing metals to make their way to surface. So I think they got plenty of catalysts ahead of them. Right now, they closed on Friday at 21 cents, which is sort of in the middle of their 50-day moving average and their 200-day moving average. Their 200-day moving average has basically been going sideways. And recently, it looked like their 50-day bottomed. And now it's got the potential to trend upwards. Again, you got to look at the catalyst to see that happen. And they did a lot of drilling recently, and they have a bunch of holes to announce over the next 2 or 3 weeks. And I think that those could be the catalysts that drive that 50-day moving average through a golden cross. If I had to guess, I would say that that golden cross will probably happen in about 4 to 6 weeks. And yeah, I really like this story as well. I think that whole Eureka camp from Timberline, Golden Lake, Paycore, and I-80 Gold are going to make a lot of noise. And, you know, in the case of Timberline, you're only looking at a $33 million valuation. So they're very cheap as well. Okay, so the next company I'm going to talk about is Walker River Resources. These guys are also in Nevada. And recently they made a pretty significant breakout that has the stock now trading above its 200-day moving average. And the 50-day moving average is probably only 2 weeks away from a golden cross. And what has caused that optimism is that they've drilled 2 key targets on their project in Nevada. One's called the Pikes Peak target, which could be the heat engine that caused the high-grade gold mineralization over at their Lapon Canyon project. It's right beside Pikes Peak. And at Lapon Canyon, they have a widespread zone of high-grade gold mineralization. It's also in a mountain, so it goes for about 900 meters from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain, and they have widespread high-grade gold mineralization there. Recently, they drilled a series of holes from the top of the mountain where it kind of flattens out, and they've been drilling towards their hotspot zone where they had some of their best results. They didn't have to drill a lot of deep holes. They were able to access it with, let's say, 150-meter holes, and they drilled a bunch of those, and those results are pending. So they've got potential catalysts from 2 target areas, Pikes Peak and at their Lapon Canyon. Ultimately, I think Lapon Canyon is a multi-million ounce high-grade gold target. They've got this high-grade gold distributed from side to side for about 500 meters and from top to bottom on the Lapon Mountain for about 800 or 900 meters. But they've been drilling from the side of the mountain, which makes it difficult to prove up the continuity. And I think that ultimately that high grade all has continuity. And now that they can drill vertical holes from the top of the mountain, I think it's going to give them that understanding of the continuity of the high grade. And I believe it will all hang together. And that's a very exciting opportunity to have in Nevada. And then when you consider the company only has a $13.4 million valuation, that's very exciting. They've got a good looking chart, 50-day moving towards a golden cross, the stock trading above its 200-day moving average and aggressively above its 50-day with a bunch of catalysts ahead of it. Stay tuned for that one, because I think 2023 is going to be an excellent year that starts right out the gate with some excellent news. Okay, Silkeman Minerals is another one. As you can see, the 50-day moving average has bottomed in September, has been trending upwards. They're maybe a week to 2 weeks away from a golden cross. They closed right in between a narrowing 200-day and 50-day moving average. The catalyst that they have is back in September, when that stock broke out, they announced that they hit a thick intersection of, I believe it was around 30 meters of high-grade gold. And it was their first jewelry box hit in an orogenic gold system. Now they recently drilled a second hole into that jewelry box and hit excellent grades again. They're getting back ready to drill in January, to drill another hole into that jewelry box hit. And ultimately, it has all the hallmarks of the Fosterville Mine Swan Zone that was a money-making machine for Kirkland Lake that made Kirkland Lake one of the best performing gold mining stocks in the business. Ultimately, it got them bought out. They had one of the most powerful gold charts for a big gold mining company. It really was a company maker that led to them getting bought out, because you've got such extreme high grade in these orogenic gold systems when you find a jewelry box, and they're very high margin operations. I think the average cost of production was about $500 an ounce, so it made nothing but money. And Silkeman, with a $55 million valuation, is very cheap when you consider that, you know, if they find a Swan Zone lookalike, which I think they've just started to poke their first 2 holes into one, this could be a massive winner. And I think that's the direction that they're headed in. And they have a very cheap valuation. And I think they're only a week or 2 away from going through a golden cross. And the catalyst to drive it much higher. So take a look at Silkeman Minerals. Okay, the next company I'm going to talk about is Galantas. Galantas, where are you, Galantas? Galantas, G-A-L, where are you? Here, let me try this again. There it is. Galantas Gold is in Ireland, and they're drilling on an orogenic gold system. They've hit plenty of high-grade intersections over quite thick intersections of high grade. They kind of got a dual track in that they've started production on the near surface underground operation. The game plan is to use the free cash flow from that underground operation to then drill into the deeper portions of their orogenic veins at both Kearney and Joshua. And in between Kearney and Joshua is the Kerr vein. And I think that what ultimately is happening here is that those 3 veins are probably coming off the same gold mineralizing system, and they probably connect as you go deeper. So the free cash flow from the production can help them go much deeper and use free cash flow instead of issuing more stock and raising more stock. So I think they have a great project that has a lot of catalysts ahead of it and a strong business plan. And what you see here in the chart is that the 50-day and the 200-day have been moving upwards, not aggressively upwards, but nonetheless upwards. Just in the last couple of weeks, it went through a golden cross, but then it traded down again to close on Friday at 49 cents. I think that this one is oversold relative to the fundamentals of the project, what they've already found, the potential to what they can find more, and they've got a bunch of catalysts ahead of them over the next few months. So I think that this one could see a pretty significant breakout in the not too distant future. What I'm talking about when I say that is in matters of days to a couple of weeks. And I'm hoping to get Mario Stefano on an interview pretty soon, because he's got a good feel for what's happening with the price of gold, and he's a very sharp guy. So I hope to have him on a show soon. So there you go, folks. That's my stock charts and catalyst show for today. I've got a couple more that I'm doing my homework on. And I think that I also have some new interviews coming out with new companies that I've not covered before. Yeah, I'm very optimistic that we're coming in. We've already seen the start of a more bullish trend for the price of gold. I'm already seeing a group of companies. Fortunately, a bunch of those are sponsors of my shows. So I've been able to do a bunch of content. I do interviews with their executives when they have important news out. I also do special reports on them. You can find all of that on my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News. It's a great place for you to do your homework because you can hear from the leaders of these companies what they're doing that have enabled their stocks to buck the trend of a lot of gold miners, developers, and exploration companies. And another good place to do your homework is go to their websites, check out their news releases, check out their corporate presentations. And I think you'll find a lot to like in those companies if you do that homework. And as always, my shows for information purposes only. It's important for you to do or speak with your financial advisors and do your homework before making any investment decisions. And on that note, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.